Saludos and salutations, Broncos Country, and welcome into another exciting episode of Broncos Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an awesome show for you today. Libre and I and our another special guest are going to sit here and talk to you guys about the topic about today's show, which is post-draft Broncos. Are they better or are they worse after or before the draft? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a question that has been asked by a lot of people, not by me, but around me. I swear to you guys. Also, the return of your favorite segment, Broncos Overtime, is also making a comeback. So, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure your beer is cold, your food is warm, and that you are comfortable because you don't want to miss a single part of this show. So make sure you get ready because here we go.
Broncos talk, let's rock, feel the energy rise. From the microphone to the fans reaching the skies. Every episode a thrill, a surprise. For the love of the game, we harmonize.
And welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adan Diaz, and joining me on my left or right, depending on which direction you're watching. And unfortunately, I didn't click the button fast enough, so he didn't come up. It's my
how you are?
co-host, Bronco Libre. Libre, how you doing tonight, brother?
What's happening? I'm doing good for a Wednesday.
What's happening with you?
I'm doing all right. You
How
know.
come your what's happening is better than mine? What are you doing different than I'm not?
You know, it's because I've been doing it, I think, a lot longer. That's why.
What? Okay, I got to work on my what. I got to work on my what.
What's happening? And you know what? It goes back to the movie Born in East LA, you know, because they're always talking about that. You've never seen Born in East LA with
It
Chichimari?
doesn't sound familiar to me. I have to let me read the synopsis. Maybe I've seen it, but it doesn't like come to. It's not like Blood In, Blood Out, which is like the movie that
no.
every Mexican has to see once in their lifetime. You know, it's a
I'm gonna
classic.
have to send it to you, but yeah, that's part of why I say that is because I've been saying it for years and years. But it's Chich Marin in that part. It's just the perfect scene that's in there, but you have to watch it.
Oh, anything with Cheech Marin, I will definitely sit down and watch.
Oh, yeah.
Bro. That man is a legend. But ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is Broncos Talk. As I stated, my name is Adan Diaz, and joining me to my left or right, depending on which way you're watching, is Bronco Libre. I just wanted to say it again because I wanted to make sure I did, and I'm old, so sometimes I don't remember if I did or not, so I'd rather say it again and repeat it in case then not forget it. But if this is your first time watching, welcome to the show. If this is your returning viewer or listener, we are very, very grateful for your support. So as before we do in every show, got to get a couple things off of our chest before we get started with today's show and bring out our special guest as well. First of all, Libre and I would like to ask you to please show your support for us here on the Orange and Blue Network. We ask that you please subscribe, share, comment, and like on this show and all the shows here on the Orange and Blue Network so you never miss out on a single episode of all the great content we have here to offer. Also, please make sure you give a follow to our sister station, MHRT Network. Subscribe, share, comment, and like on all of their great content as well. The beautiful thing about being on a simulcast is you get to be on two networks at the exact same time. So it's double the fun, double the excitement, just like double mint gum. For any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. If you'd like to follow us on our socials on Twitter, our handles are right there at the bottom for those of you with the ability with visual technology. Mine is at a 6'10" Mexican. Libre is Bronco Libre 5280. So please make sure you give us a follow. We're always down and happy to talk about any and all things football. For our audio listeners, we ask that you please give us a 5-star review wherever it is you're listening to on any of the podcast formats that the show goes on. Send us a screenshot, and Libre and I will be more than happy to share them with you guys either live here in the air and, of course, give our thanks and congratulations in person. Also, I'd like to apologize to everybody for not being able to go on with Viva Los Broncos this past Friday. That was on me. I do apologize for the second delay, but I promise you we will have Viva Los Broncos come back this Friday at our normal time. So for those of you that don't know,
before you go on with that, I was almost about to give you a call because I almost got tickets to the Nuggets home game. That is on Friday.
Hey,
I was this close.
If something happens, it happens, bro. And you know, thankfully, I have a very good boss in Johnny Baki. Shout out to Baki, who didn't fire me, but he did tell me that I'm skating on thin ice, whatever that means. I think he was just making a fat joke.
You know, it's funny that you just say that. Look, he just commented.
Yeah. And of course, the boss, he's going to talk about Nuggets. Yeah, I have a feeling we're definitely going to be intermeeting between both of those subjects. But ladies and gentlemen, before I get sidetracked, just want to finish off by thanking our sponsor for today's show, of course, which is Dubby. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you have not heard about the word that is not the bird, the Dubby is here to help you, give you that energy you need to get you through your day. As we like to say, as we like to say on this show, it is all the good stuff without all of the bad. To give you guys a better understanding of that, basically it was formulated to give you focus and energy with no jitters or crash. Their formula contains vitamins, amino acids, and nootropics included in their patented neurofactor formula. It's no calories, no sugar, no maltodextrin, no fillers, and no artificial colors. Ladies and gentlemen, just to show you how much of a great deal this is for us here on the network, our good friends over at the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast, which airs every Tuesday here on the networks, want to give you guys, our listeners, an awesome 10% off on your code when you check out. So make sure you use the code NRWOB10 to get your 10% off at checkout, and make sure you get not only a great product in W, but you also get to save some money from your pocket. Again, that code is NRWOB10 to get your 10% off. Shout out to W and the guys over at the Nothing.
Thank you guys,
helping us out with an awesome discount and an awesome podcast. Although the jury's still out on Johnny Baki, I think he's just, he's a guy. What can I say? I like Isaiah better.
But he's the guy. He's the guy, though.
Ladies and gentlemen, with all that being said, Libre and I would like to welcome our special guest of the evening. I did get to talk to him a little bit backstage, but Libre is more well known with him, just like my friend Eric from last week was. Also, by the way, if you guys hadn't checked it out, please make sure you go back and check out our video from last week. Our Ask a Fan segment was absolutely incredible. It was amazing. Shout out to my friend Eric for being a really good guy and coming on the show and talking football with us. But ladies and gentlemen, Libre and I would like to welcome our special guest, Sean.
What's happening, Vato Loco? Sean Gray in the house.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me, man.
How are you doing, brother?
Doing well. Ready to talk some Broncos.
Yes, sir. Definitely. But before we do that, we got to say hello and show some love to our people in the chat. First of all, D-Rock saying Adon and Libre. Shout out to you, D-Rock. Thank you so much for your continued support here on the show, my brother. Shai Vargas saying, hey, Libre.
What's up, Shai?
Yeah. You got a fan out there, Libre. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
And Championship Run saying, what's happening?
I like it. Mr. Championship Run. Vato Locos forever.
And then the boss, Johnny Baki, saying, what it do, gentlemen? Game 2 tonight. Go Nuggets. Blank the Thunder and the Bulls. You know what? I wasn't going to say this. I was actually going to give you your flowers because that game 1, I already had the Nuggets written off. And then, see, that's the beautiful thing about NBA playoffs, man. It's like every second counts. And the only reason I'm pulling for the Thunder is because Caruso is on that team. And I want Caruso to win a ring. So that's the only reason I'm pulling for him. Now, I'm not saying that the Thunder are going to knock the Nuggets out, but I hope it gets competitive. That's all I'm going to say because I love my job here, and Johnny Baki can literally come in and shut us all down in like 30 seconds. So, but
one thing that before we go on, I know Sean, because Sean's a big basketball guy too. One thing is that what OKC does not currently have is experience in the playoffs right now. That's one thing that they do not have. And you have to think that these Nuggets, they just won a championship a couple years ago with the good majority of the guys that they have on this team right now. And with that experience, and you saw that come through in game one.
Yeah. I mean, you can see like the championship core is still there.
Yep.
You know, like KCP is the only one from that core that's gone. These guys know how to win. Last year they got tired. This year they seem to be on a mission after the Malone firing.
Yep.
You know, this team is they're cohesive. They're together. You can tell. You know, they don't quit. They understand that no matter what point in the game, they got a chance, and you can see. And that's how they won a couple nights ago.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Gentlemen, if it's okay with you, I'd like to save this conversation for the overtime part of the show, just to make sure that we don't get a little too carried away. Although the best thing about doing the show is that we don't have a script. We kind of just go off of what's on our minds, and we go off of our fans in the chat. But we will definitely come back to this topic at the overtime part of the show, I promise you. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the topic at hand, which is basically the Broncos' current, just kind of a hot take as to where we believe the Broncos are now after the draft. I've been asked by a lot of people where do I believe the Broncos are now? Like, are we all of a sudden, championship team? Can we contend with the best the NFC has in the Super Bowl? Can they go? It's basically all the questions that we were being asked a couple years ago when Russell Wilson came aboard, and those delusions were really, really high. So it's like the same questions were being asked just a couple years later. Now, I will say, answering these questions for me has been kind of hard because I've been trying to be realistic and not try to answer these with my orange and blue colored glasses on. Because if I have those on, then hey, it's Super Bowl every freaking year. Okay, no doubt about it. But we also have to be realistic. Now, to answer this question, I do believe that the Broncos have gotten better. Okay, they definitely didn't get the players that they wanted on their draft board. But then again, the only way they were going to get a Genti or any of the other top 10 players, they would have to give up something in return to move up. And moving up, especially when you get to the single digits, you really have to give up like a pot of gold, damn near, to get somebody to convince them and say, okay, we'll move back for that team to make the sacrifice and, not only accumulate picks, but probably get a player or so in return. And unfortunately, the last time the Broncos, went crazy backing up giving up a giant treasure chest full of things, it blew up in their face, which was the whole Russell Wilson thing. So to me, I kind of felt like they played it safe this time around by not trading up and taking that risk, and kind of putting more faith in Sean Payton and basically saying, okay, this is going to be your team. Pick your players. The only thing that the Broncos did, they didn't move up, but they did trade back. So they traded back, they got more picks, and they got more players out of it. So I believe that the Broncos are going to be better. How much better? It's kind of hard to say, but right now the bar is set past the wild card round. That's where the bar is for the Broncos, because that's how far they made it last year. And that was a miracle in itself because the Broncos were not slated to even make the postseason. So if they can make it past that and get as far as they can to getting that Lombardi trophy, even in year one with this offense, is already a win in itself.
No, you know what? I agree. Overall, I feel like the Broncos themselves so far, they did what they did for the team itself. So, and I like that they didn't go for someone that was somebody that's been talked about so much leading up to this draft. Even though that person was available, but they went for who was there, the best available player at a position and what we needed. And I feel that that's what we did, especially with Barron going in the first round at number 20. I think that was like a huge pickup, even though Omarion Hampton was there on the board for us to take. And me and Sean were talking about this earlier today as well. It's like I was up on Hampton a lot, but the Broncos went with the best available player, with the number one corner in this year's draft. Even though Travis Hunter was out there, he was rated as the number one corner based off of the statistics that were out there. And again, who did he play compared to Travis Hunter? Travis Hunter didn't play comparable to some of these other players that that Barron did. Like Barron was playing more top quality players than what Travis did this year.
Sean, your take?
Yeah, I tend to agree. Like Bronco Libre said, we talked about it earlier. Like I'm not gonna lie, fell in love with Amari Hampton just watching clips of him, watching film. You know, like that guy's a beast. You know, love to have had him, but the Broncos picked high quality, high character guys. Running back, team captain, great character guy. Wide receiver from Illinois, team captain, great character guy. These guys went out there and they gave it all for their team, and they're older, so they're more mature. They're more ready to give to the team this year. You know, I think that this offense is in year 2 of the experience, and like you said earlier, we didn't have the Broncos doing anything this year. I was going to be happy if we just looked competitive.
Yeah.
But in Sean Payton, we trust, right? And I think he's got a plan in place, and we're seeing it, you know, unfold before our eyes. I think the Broncos have gotten much better. I think the defense has gotten better, and I think that's how you win championships. I mean, the last championship we won was on the backs of the defense. So I think you solidify that defense. Singleton's going to be back healthy. Greenlaw is going to be there doing his thing, and we're going to see this offense get even better. You know, at this point, it's just up to Bo Nix, because now.
Well, see, that's the beautiful part about last year. Is last year it was kind of really hard for Broncos fans to come on here and kind of put on a face, okay? Because everybody in the league, especially these so-called analysts, the people that get paid lots and lots of money to come on here and tell you guys what they think is right and it's really hard for them to eat crow when they're wrong. But everybody had the Broncos knocked down. You know, it was going to be Russell Wilson being, you know, going to the Steelers. It was going to be the biggest mistake the Broncos made because they were spending so much money on a quarterback playing for another team. And, you know, it was going to be a rebuild year. The Broncos were going to be in the basement. They were not going to contend. They were going to get stomped by the Raiders, unfortunately, the Chargers, and again, the Chiefs, supposedly. And it was just kind of hard. So it was kind of hard for us to come on here with a straight face and say, hey, don't listen to all that jibber jabber. We're going to be all right. Bo Nix is going to find a way to make it work. And then we got the quarterback competition where it was like, who's going to start? Is it going to be Bo Nix? Is it going to be Jarrett Stidham? Is it going to be Zach Wilson? They basically created a problem that did not need to be made in creating this quarterback competition. And I really, really hate those words together because it is so unnecessary. You know, can you imagine if the season started with Jarrett Stidham or Zach Wilson? Zach Wilson in the preseason, yeah, he had some flashes, but even against second and third stringers, that man kind of struggled. And there were passes that should have been picked off. Okay. So he unfortunately did not move the needle for me in terms of saying Zach Wilson could be the guy to lead this team. Jarrett Stidham did not move the needle for me the last 2 games in the 2023 season to say he could be the guy to lead this team, because if he was, then the Broncos wouldn't have had to go and acquire the services of one Bo Nix. They could have gotten Brock Bowers. They could have gotten another player in a different position of better strengths. So the fact that the Broncos went in there and took the entire league by storm, and Bo Nix came this close to being able to knock Jaden Daniels off of being, possibly the offensive rookie of the year, was an amazement in itself. So them going out and creating and getting these players was an amazing feat to me. Now, there's still a lot of people that don't feel that the pick at 20 for a cornerback was the right decision for the Broncos. And again, Libre and I would like to reiterate to you guys what we told you last week. It needed to be made because the Broncos, the defense, the secondary last year, just think about it. I'll say it again. All they needed to do was win one game, and they were in. And they lost all those games, and we were so close to possibly being one game out, just like we were the year before when Russell Wilson, all he had to do was beat the Patriots, and they lost, and they got eliminated. So, and that was with Riley Moss coming back, mind you. So, and in that Cincinnati game where we thought that the Broncos were going to go in and stomp Cincinnati, it was the total opposite. It was a shootout. It was a hell of a game. I'm really pissed that we lost that game, obviously, but it kind of showed you that even missing one game can create just like ring rust And it takes so much out of you, especially when you have a bad game like that, where you feel like you let your team down, you let your fans down, and it just didn't work. And that kind of thing can really affect a player's psyche going forward.
Yeah, you could tell in that Bengals game that Riley Moss, I don't think it was rushed. I think he just wasn't right. He wasn't healthy, and he rushed back and he wasn't ready to go. Our pick at 20, the quarterback from Texas, he's going to play inside. And I think Riley Moss and him are going to, back and forth, play inside, outside. And I think it'll help. But you're right. I think they did create a competition last season. It seemed like for what? But I think for competition's sake, I think those guys go in there. If you just name Bo Nix the starting quarterback right away, then it's kind of like, oh, who's going to push them? No, they all pushed each other, and I think they all got better. And I think you saw that after the first couple weeks of the season for Bo Nix. He started figuring it out, because he had that competition in the preseason. But yeah, man, this team is exciting because of last year. We didn't expect anything. Now we've got expectations. And it's been a while. It's been 10 years since we've had expectations in Denver. Like it's tough. We had that little moment with Russell Wilson, but it wasn't real, We found out that pretty quick. So it was tough, and to have expectations in Denver is exactly what we want. And if they make it to the wild card round again this year, great. Let's build on that. If they make it to the divisional round, even better. But now we know we can hang with these cats, and we can go against the Kansas Cities and the the Chargers and whatnot with their offenses, and we got an offensive run. We got a great defense too. So yeah.
Going back to Wilson, Wilson, the reason why they traded Wilson to go get for him is he's that high risk, high reward type of guy. So if he's going to go out there and he's going to throw those balls, like how you were mentioning, like he's just throwing out the ball or whatever, but he's going to hit on a good majority of those, but then he's also going to miss where he gets picked off. But you just know, just like how Sean was just saying, you get them in there, get that competition in there. So you're pushing Bo Nix to be better and not just being like that golden child saying, you know what? Yeah, you were the 12th person picked overall, but the 6th quarterback of this draft. Like you still need to work. And I think that's helped him out a huge amount as well, because you saw the progression, what he was able to do from the beginning of the season, like how Sean was saying, to the end of the season. And no doubt that Bo Nix is that guy.
I agree. And I just saw this comment. The Sean, mad props on winning tonight's old Orange and Blue Network Von Miller lookalike contest.
I love it.
It's the glasses.
It's the glasses, yeah. Forever. That's always been the thing.
Why do I feel that as soon as Johnny saw you, he hopped out of his couch because he probably thought that we were able to get Von Miller on the show?
That'd be awesome. Sorry to disappoint.
And Shai Vargas asked us, how do you guys feel about the acquisition of RJ Harvey? You know what? Unfortunately, I'm not a big college fan. You guys have heard me say this a bunch of times, so I can't give you my honest opinion on it in terms of saying, what his background is. But what I do feel is that the Broncos made the right decision by not going with a running back first pick that wasn't Genty or maybe even Hampton. Although Hampton was on a lot of people's draft boards. So the fact that they didn't get him over Hampton was a surprise to me. Now, it does suck that he went to the Chargers, but I feel that would have went either way. If the Broncos would have gotten Hampton, RJ Harvey would be a Charger right now. So they were the two best pieces available. You just have to have faith that RJ Harvey, what he's going to bring to this offense, is better than what Hampton could have brought to this offense. Now, obviously, Genty is a monster. He's going to be a problem for a lot of teams, hopefully not ours. But the Broncos really did.
Right before you go, I just had somebody on my TikTok. His name is Mason. Just was talking because I had another Raiders fan that was in the chat right now in my TikTok live. And he was basically saying, you know what, Genty's not going to do nothing for you guys. He's not the savior for the team. And I was just saying, you know what? You're right. I honestly feel that, yes, that was probably the star running back. Like, he's that generational type of guy, but you need to put him in a system that's going to be able to work. Is that going to happen in Vegas? I don't think so. That's just me personally.
Yeah.
Sean, go ahead.
I think maybe there's potential maybe for that to happen in Vegas just because it's a Pete Carroll team and you saw what he can do with the Seahawks and getting the right type of offensive coordinator in there to run his style. So maybe. I also think as a rookie running back, I mean, there are a few you see every once in a while that come out and have huge seasons, but as a rookie running back, this is a grind. The NFL is a grind. Everybody is the best player from their college team or a high draft pick or whatever, what have you. They're fast, they're strong. You know, you're not playing against future insurance salesmen, you know, or future, Fortune 500 CEOs. You know, you're playing against people who live, eat, and breathe this every day of the year. So the grind is there, and I think running backs, especially young ones, tend to fade out towards the end. Hopefully that's what happens with Genty for the Raiders, and we don't have to bear the brunt of that. But I think here in Denver, with RJ Harvey, he brings an element to the offense that maybe we didn't have, or maybe we're lacking a little bit. Julian McLaughlin has that, ability to make people miss. And where Harvey may lack in like top end speed, he's good with like small twitch stuff, really good in space. And we need someone like that. Could he get better out of the backfield? Sure. He can get better out of the backfield, but I think every college running back isn't polished in that. And if you're going to be a running back in Sean Payton's offense, you better catch the ball out of the backfield. I think we'll be pleasantly surprised with him. Don't expect him to come out here and be a world beater, but he's gonna surprise people. And I think as he grows into his role on the team, I think he's gonna flourish for sure.
Well, let me just say about this, and this is probably another hot take. Now, I was already wrong when a year ago I said that Harbaugh coming to the Chargers was not going to work out for them, and I unfortunately was wrong. So I'll eat crow on that. But I'm going to double down and still insist that Pete Carroll coming to the Raiders was a huge, huge mistake. Now, obviously, as a Broncos fan, I love it because I think that it's going to do absolutely nothing in terms of repair that offense. I really don't know why they thought going after Geno Smith was going to be the answer. You bring him into a division with an up-and-coming Bo Nix, Patrick Mahomes, who's already hard to beat and annoying as it is, and what's his name? Freaking from the Chargers. I can't think of his name.
Herbert.
Herbert. Thank you, Justin Herbert, who it seems to have found some new life under the Harbaugh system. And Geno Smith, probably still holds it high because he's beat the Broncos twice. Okay. All by sheer luck, I will admit. But him coming to another team is a whole different story. And you better believe that these Broncos are licking their chops and they're waiting to put that L on the board for him. And you could be right about Genty. He could be just a flash in the pan because not every player that transfers over from the college level makes it into the pros. It's a whole different animal. Sometimes the players you think are going to be good turn out to be busts, and sometimes the players you think are going to be bust turn out to be good, or in some cases go out to be into the Hall of Fame one day at the end of their careers. So that's the beautiful thing about just bringing these on here is just bringing these players onto the league is, just being surprised, if I can say. Sometimes it sucks when it comes at the cost of the Broncos, but still. Here goes another question for us here, gentlemen. This is from the boss, Baki. He says, this is a question for all three of you. I released an article this week on Predominantly Orange about my optimism for our new tight end, Caleb Lohner. What do you guys feel about this young tight end? Either one of you guys can go off first.
I think he's going to be great. I mean, he's going to be that safety net, that security blanket that Bo Nix needs. Like he needs someone that's not Cortland Sutton, that he can down the middle, someone who's, 6'5" yards deep that he can just toss the ball to and, hey, go do something with it. I think it's going to be really good. It's something that this offense has lacked for a long time. I mean, the Broncos haven't had a tight end since
Julius Thomas.
Yeah.
Even further back, Julius Thomas, but like Noah Fant showed flashes that he could be something, and unfortunately he hasn't flourished into anything in Seattle, but as a Bronco, he showed a lot of flashes, and But yeah, the Broncos have needed a tight end like this for a very long time, and I think they found one. And in a Sean Payton offense, again, Sean Payton does so many great things on offense. You need a tight end. Like, look at Jimmy Graham, for crying out loud. Like, I'm not sure he's gonna get to those levels, but like, that's just what you need.
So that's what I thought as well when we got him. He's that type of Jimmy Graham type of guy. And where did Jimmy Graham play at? With the Saints. There was Sean Payton. It's kind of that type of player that he's looking at, that he has that height. And what's also nice about this guy, when you saw his highlight film, because I had no clue who he was, what is all his highlights are? We talked about this last week. Basketball highlights. It's all basketball highlights. And what's going to be freaking awesome is that he's so raw with this game that Sean Payton's going to be able to teach him what he wants him to be as a player. And that right there is like, if you can mold a player to the way that you want him, because of his 4 catches, all touchdowns, by the way, like, you're going to want to get and mold that guy. So I'm actually excited to have him on the team. And like Sean was saying, he's going to be that outlet that we needed for the longest time, especially on this team itself. And now that we have him, I think that's going to be there. Evan Ingram's going to be that guy there. He's going to help him, teach him, but it's going to be, we might run a 2 tight end set where we're going to be able to get that set up. And who are you going to go after? Evan Ingram, or are you going to go with Loner? Like, that's what you're going to want to have. And I think that Sean Payton, just his smarts on this offensive side, is going to be so wonderful that nobody's going to be able to stop us throughout this upcoming year. So that's what I'm super excited about.
Well, I will say that unfortunately I don't know absolutely anything about Caleb Loner. I have not done my research on him as of late. I definitely should.
Do your homework.
Man, I haven't done homework since high school, brother. And unfortunately, I'm still kind of bummed out that we missed out on the Loveland contest, because for some reason I really had him figured and picked. I never thought he would go top 10. I thought the other tight end, Tyler
Warren.
Yeah, I thought he would go first before Loveland. So that was a bit of a shock. And I can tell you that there's a lot of Bears fans here who still don't think that picking up Loveland was the right decision in their spot. But as you said, Libre, just to kind of piggyback off of your point, if the 2 tight end set can work and you can make it work, and you can use Loner as kind of like that disguise player, kind of like how the Broncos used Troutman last year, in terms of, he was technically the number 1 tight end, but when he wasn't, he was a definite problem to deal with. I mean, Carolina, which was probably his best game last year, just couldn't, they didn't know how to handle him. And me and you were both at that game, Libre. So it just basically needs to come from the offense. They need a revamp. Again, the whole point of them bringing guys like Caleb and RJ to this offense is to kind of give Bo Nix either more options or to give him a break from throwing the ball. Okay, because I'm pretty sure he learned in those first 2 weeks that you can't always throw the ball every single time on every single drive. You have to you have to be able to learn the defense, and you have to punish them for it. If they're going to stack the box, then you throw the ball. If they're going to play the outside and they're going to play the corners, then you run the ball and you push. Basically, that's what they need to do. But unfortunately, Javonte Williams was still not running to his peak. He only had like 1 really great game, and that was against the Saints, a team that was playing more like a junior varsity team than an NFL team at that point in the season. So we really didn't have anybody that can push the ball. Not to take anything away from Estime and McLaughlin, who are really, really good running backs in their own respects, but they were nothing that would make the opposing defenses fear the run. Okay, and that's exactly what the Broncos need to go back into this. We need the offensive line to obviously, run their blocks better, especially the running game. The running game definitely needs a massive upgrade. So that way, in case the running back can't go, hey, even though we don't like to see our quarterback, run and scramble with the ball, but Bo Nix, hey, when he runs, that man's got legs and he's got speed, and he will definitely punish you for it if you let him run.
Yeah, he definitely has some wheels. I just thinking back to this last season, the offensive line is always talking about, like, yeah, we want to run block more. We want to run block more. We want to be aggressive. We want to be physical. I think that's what like offensive linemen love to do. But it's tough when you got a running back who doesn't hit the hole. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Who's behind the line dancing. Like they want to get to the second level, but you got to come with them. And so I think these running backs we have now can and will have that type of effect. I'm kind of interested in, I don't know if it's Bidet or Beatty. I've heard it so many different ways. Interested to see how he progresses, because it kind of spoke volumes that he dressed for the playoff game, and someone like Estimate didn't. But Estimate had been getting all this PT during the season. So like he got snaps during the season, and I know Bidet was hurt, but hey, man, that kind of speaks volumes. So I hope we have like a more of an effort to run the football. Sean Payton does love to throw that football, man. He loves to sling that pigskin.
Well, since we're talking about running backs, and not to cut you off, Libre, there has been rumor picking up a lot of steam, making the media rounds lately about the Broncos possibly being one of the few teams interested in trading for Nick Chubb. Now, this is something that Libre and I talked about about a month or so ago, where I thought that it could be the possibility if the Broncos didn't get their running back of choice in the draft. So my question to you gentlemen is, let's say hypothetically the Broncos do trade for Nick Chubb. Would you bring in Chubb to either be running back number one, or would you have him play behind RJ Harvey and try to create that 1-2 punch that a lot of other teams have in the NFL?
For me, you know what? Like, if we're gonna get him in as a good price, if we're gonna trade, we have to get a good price for him. I don't think, because we don't want to go over and overspend for him just because of his him coming off of that huge knee injury itself. If we can get him at a good deal, and if that's the scenario, you know what? Let's use him as a 1-2 punch, because you're not going to use him right away as your every down back, because you can't put that type of pressure on him, especially with that knee injury. But if he's going to come in, if we happen to pull that trigger, he's going to be that supporting part of it, where it's going to be 1-2. You can't have him as an every down back, because you're just going to wear him out, and he's not going to be effective for you near the end of the season heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think Nick Chubb, he's shown that he can come back from a significant injury. He's shown it.
Yeah.
What's the old adage now in the NFL? Any running back over 30 is probably not a good running back at this point. But I'm not sure if I remember correctly. He's close to getting to 30, and he's coming off a big knee injury. If we were, it'd be, a third rounder, fourth rounder, something like that, maybe. But if we did get him, I think he'd be 1-2. I think we'd want to run the football a total like 30 times a game, 30 to 35 times a game.
Yeah.
So you spread those around for Chubb and McLaughlin and RJ. Then you got something going. You know what I mean? Like the three-headed monster type thing. Mixing some Bidet and some Estimate maybe. If that's a lot of running backs, but I don't see it being very beneficial. Unless someone goes down in training camp or something like that, it may not be worth it. I hope he does well wherever he's at, because he played so well and he just got hurt, and that kind of sucks. But I don't think I'd like to see that here in Denver. I'd like us to maybe do something else if we're going to make a move,
No, I agree with that. It's like, it's too much of a risk itself.
Yeah,
I think
not much reward.
Yeah, I think that the only way the Broncos get Chubb at a cheap price is if the Browns don't start off September right. Because right now they have good players, they have a lot of overpaid players, but they also have a problem where they have, sometimes too much of a good thing is not always good. It's a bad thing, that old saying. So the fact that they're going into this season with 5 quarterbacks, Two of
So,
them who I don't think are going to be on the roster past preseason.
so I just actually just got a text from somebody who's watching the live right now, and they're saying that Nick Chubb is a free agent.
Oh,
So
That is right. That is right.
that is
yeah.
right. He is a free agent.
So because he hasn't done anything and nobody's picked him up, so
Hey, why not? Yeah, send a little training camp invite his way or something like that. Coming off an injury, why not? Hey, you want to come on the vet
at that
minimum?
point, exactly. So with that being said itself, it's like if you can come in here, prove to us that you're going to be able to make the team. If not, it's not going to hurt him at all for us to bring him in at all. So let's bring him in, say, hey, show us what you got, and if there's not anything available, then he be cut with the other guys.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
boss here, guys, saying he prefers J.K. Dobbins over Nick Chubb.
I tend to agree. I
agree 100% too.
If we were going to make a move, I'd like to see J.K. Dobbins because he may not look it, but J.K. runs inside. He can run outside. He can catch the ball out of the backfield.
I'd stick with Chubb. There's just something about J.K. Dobbins that kind of, I don't know. There's a reason he's not with the Chargers anymore, if I'm not mistaken.
You have a personal vendetta with them.
He signed a 1-year contract with them.
Yeah, he signed a 1 year. They didn't renew it, and that's why the Chargers went out and got Najee Harris, who I don't think is better than Dobbins, but I would much rather roll the dice with Nick Chubb. Just for the fact that he's a free agent, and I'm kind of embarrassed to admit I should have known that, but a shout out and thanks for the correction to your friend.
Hey, that's Bronco Tiz. So
yeah.
Bronco Tiz, you're out there. Thank you for getting us and giving that correction for us.
And that would make sense why that would get him or that whole story made traction is because of the fact he's a free agent. So I think that there's probably something going on that we don't know about because, if you would have said Bradley Chubb is a free agent like a couple years ago, that wouldn't have lasted long before you even finished that sentence.
You mean Nick Chubb? So, he said Bradley Chubb.
And obviously the Browns don't have any money to pay him a bunch of money, even if they wanted to, because most of their cap space is already tied to some of their other players. So my guess is that Nick Chubb is probably going to start like a world tour where maybe he's going to start, talking to other teams, maybe attending a practice or two here and there before he finally gets picked up by somebody, if not by preseason, maybe by week 1 per se.
You know what? It's going to happen. This is just exactly with Justin Simmons. He did not get picked up until week 2 or 3 of the preseason after the preseason games. It's going to be where it's a team that's going to be needing a player, say a running back, whoever gets hurt during these preseason games before he gets picked up. That's what happened with Justin Simmons last year. And I feel like that's where he's at again because he hasn't been picked up again.
Yeah, you're right.
Picked up, so
you're totally right.
Yeah, I think Nick will end up. Whoever gets hurt, there's always injuries, unfortunately, in the preseason. Yeah. That's just what it is. Someone's going to get hurt, and they're going to need a running back, and Nick Chubb will come and come. As long as the medical's clear with him, then that makes sense. But I still think, I don't know, it just seems to me that J.K. Dobbins would fit well in this offense. We may just run with who we got, but I tend to think that hey guys, it's been fun being on here with you guys, man. I gotta take off, but I appreciate it, man. Like you guys,
of course.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Sean. It was a pleasure talking to you, brother.
We can do this again, man. You guys have a good night.
You do too. Thanks for coming.
Nuggets.
Go Broncos.
Go and Nuggets, he said, bud. He's like, recognize it. Let's go.
He said it, not me. Peace, man. But man, that was awesome. Having special guests on the show is really, really cool, man.
Oh, of course it is, man. And I love it too. Is we've had people that's been on so far that love the game itself. Yes, they love the team that we talk about as well. Or like your friend last week, he loves the Bears. But it all comes together because it's the love of the game. And that's what brings us, the community of us and football all together. And we can talk football all day long. Like that's how me and him are at work all day. Is we're talking about Broncos all the time, and I love it.
Well, you're so right on that point. It's like only one team out of 32 wins the Super Bowl every year. So the other 31 fans of those teams kind of head into the offseason all bummed out. Yes, we're mad, we're angry, we're pissed off or whatever. But the fact that we're able to put all that aside and come back refreshed in just a couple months and ready to cheer our team back to hopefully a Super Bowl victory is a miracle in itself. So again, excuse me, to our previous guests, thank you guys so much for taking the time to be here with us to talk football with Libre and I. And to our future guests, we really look forward to talking with you guys about the Ask a Fan segment. I'm really proud of that. And again, like I said before, we have had other guests on here before last week. But bringing my friend Eric on was really important to me because when we ended that segment before, he was the person I was supposed to bring on, and I never did. So I've always felt bad about that. It's been eating at me for the longest, and it was a huge sigh of relief being able to bring him onto this show. And shout out to Johnny for the inspiration and the support of bringing this segment back. And I know it's not exactly the same as it was from its original standpoint, but Libre and I are trying our best to kind of bring you guys great content every single time we come on this episode. And again, you guys have heard me say this before. Sometimes when I don't have an idea of what to talk about, either Libre will mention something or Johnny will just, I don't know if he uses AI or whatever, but his topics are always on point and they get us going. So that's why I always say to you guys at the end of every show, especially during the off season, please make sure you continue to support any and all forms of Broncos media out there because they could definitely use your support, because it is going to be a long stretch now, because the next bit of content that we get is not until training camp, and that's not until the end of July, if I'm not mistaken. So we have about a month and a half, maybe 2 months to go, where we kind of have to ride through the desert until we finally get to where it is we're going.
Well, you know what? I'm going to let you know something. When you say about Johnny and he's getting these ideas with AI or whatnot, he's the boss for a reason. Like you say, you just give him like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. And I think in his mind right away, boom, just like that, he already says, oh, it's going to be, I like this spin is going to be better, especially for a title or whatnot. And that's what I think, just because he is the boss, he's been doing it for a while. And he's just really creative that way. So I think that's what
I retract my previous statement, and I'm going to say that it's all because of Isaiah.
Isaiah,
because him and Isaiah are, they're both they're co-owners. So I like to think that Isaiah feeds Johnny ideas, and then Johnny just remembers them, and then he just scratches off Isaiah's name and he puts his name on there.
But I don't know about our text today, because when you submitted the request of the text of the show today, it was like right away. He goes, what about this? And it wasn't like he went to go, hey, Isaiah, what do you think about this?
Isaiah was at his house, I think. He may have been sitting behind him or next to him on the chair.
That's funny.
Oh, but ladies and gentlemen, we love to have fun here. The base, as we get close to the end of the show in terms of regulation, Libre and I kind of feel that what the Broncos have done or did during the draft made the team better. How much better, we don't know. All we can do is speculate at this time, and we can definitely, it's TBD. But again, like I said at the earlier part of the show, the definite bar has been set. Okay, and that's the wild card round, and that's where the Broncos have to kind of reach over their chin and get, because anything lower than that for the 2025 season would be a letdown, regardless of injuries, regardless of who's still on the team by the end of the season, what happens at the end of the season, and all that stuff. But mistakes are unfortunately going to be made. But the important thing is that the Broncos need to figure out how to correct those mistakes sooner than later.
So I asked a couple of people today about the grade that they would give the Broncos. Sean, unfortunately, we didn't get to him right before he had to leave. I asked him earlier today too, and he said that he would grade the Broncos a B for what they did in the draft. And then I also asked, I had a phone conversation with my buddy Bronco Tiz as well, and I was asking him what he would grade it. And all in agreements, like I even said this last week with myself, I think that we all give him a B because he gave him a B as well. We did really well about what we needed, what we had to do with the draft. So overall, with the draft itself, I think we did good. We're above average, and it did make the team so much better itself, especially on that defensive side. You know, we are now a true monster on the defense, and it's going to be phenomenal.
Speaking of defense, the boss
look at
Rocky
that.
says best defense in the NFL, and I do not think that is speculation.
No.
You have been so right on this point here, boss, just for the simple fact that the words no-fly zone 2.0, since the acquisition of our cornerback in the draft, have skyrocketed. And a lot of people are making that comparison that this secondary going forward with Tua Halafonga, Brandon Jones, PS2, Riley Moss, and now, I mean, just those names alone were already a threat. Now you add more bullets to that magazine.
So, like, we were just talking, like me and Sean today at work, we were just literally talking about this. And it's now to the point where we're coming in and saying, you know what? On paper, we are considered like the number one defense in the league. What you need to do is the players have to go out there and show out and put the work in and prove that we are there. That's what happened with the 2015 defense when we were considered the no-fly zone, is that nobody thought of them being the best defense out there, but they went out there and worked their butts off, and look what happened. They were the best defense, and that's part of the reason why we won Super Bowl 50.
Agreed. And the boss, Baki, jumping back in, he says, I hate when they do 2.0s. Give them an original name when they are going to be that good. Maybe something like air traffic control.
You know, I agree with Baki there. Like, I've been always, and I think I've said this in our past show as well. It's like, I don't like that 2.0 part. Like, let's give them the original name. Look, we need to figure something out for these guys. If we can get something here on our show and get it out there, like, let's manifest that. Let's get something out there so that we know that this is the team that is not going to be able to be stopped.
Well, I agree with that too. But then again, it's a lot easier because sometimes coming up with nicknames is not the easiest. You know, like air traffic control. I mean, it's so. It's of course it's nothing like the no-fly zone, but hey, if it gives you something to talk about or it sets a bar, then I'm all for it, you know. But normally it doesn't go anywhere past 2.0. Like, you hardly ever hear of anything like that's not an actual like electronic device, you know, that's a 3.0 or better. But hey, I'm all for it. If you can find a better nickname for our secondary, I'm all for it. And I'm pretty sure that somebody in Broncos media is definitely going to, because the owners pay their social media team and all the people that they work a lot of money to come up with those really smart things. Which reminds me, Libre, and this is probably off topic, have you ever met Miles the mascot?
Yeah.
Jeez,
so let me show you something real quick though. Okay,
it better not be a picture because I'm gonna be pissed. He's got the Nugget shirt on too. Damn, man.
So if you go on my TikTok, I'm on the field, and he goes in and gives me this big old headlock and so forth. So I ended up getting the picture because I actually met him because he went to my office one day because we had some event at my office, and he was there. So there he is right there.
And he signed it?
Yeah, and he signed it and everything. And then I have one right there while he's in training camp where we're like going off and shoveling us off.
Damn, man. I was supposed to meet Miles 10 years ago when he was supposed to come to Chicago, and the stupid snow got in the way. And I
Blame
didn't
it on
meet
the snow.
him. I didn't meet the cheerleaders. I
Que
didn't.
desmadre.
Yeah, I got to meet a bunch of cool Broncos fans, which was awesome. With something that I didn't realize was a thing in Chicago, but it's like, but I did knock half of that off of my wish list. You guys, if you follow me on social media, you've seen that last year I ran into two of the cheerleaders who just happened to be at the watch party where we were. They were really cool. They didn't have to turn around and take a picture with me, but they did. And then they took a picture with a bunch of other people too. So unfortunately, Miles wasn't with him, but he's been one of the people that I've always wanted to take a picture because he's really cool, I think.
I'm just showing my TikTok fans. They're asking. Yeah, that's right. So if you actually go on my TikTok, you're gonna see this right there, the video of it and so forth. And it's so it's crazy because I'm just on the field. He's just walking up with little mini Miles right before the game because we did the flag ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And he just comes up and just throws me into a headlock and all that. It's pretty fun. It was pretty fun.
Did you ever meet Thunder, the horse?
Oh yeah.
Don't tell me you got a picture with him too.
As a matter, no, I don't have. He even signed it too.
He put his horseshoe mark on it.
That's right. No, because there was one year. It was for when was it? It was against the Colts when they had Andrew Luck, and again, it was another flag ceremony that I was able to do, and Thunder was right there. So and they let us pet Thunder while Thunder was getting ready to run out and so forth. And then all of a sudden, where we come out with the American flag to do the flag ceremony, it's right by the visitors' locker room. So all of the players started to come out. And at the time, I was like, oh, Andrew Luck and so forth. Man, this kid is tall. He's super tall. I don't know if it was because of his cleats as well or not, but he was a real tall guy, just standing, he's literally about 15 feet away from me from where he was coming out of the locker room, getting ready to go out into the field. I was like, dang, this guy is really tall, which was nuts.
That's crazy. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get a little jump start on our special segment today. As you guys know, when we do that, that means it is the end of regulation. Libre and I are going into overtime. Now, for those of you that are new to this part of the show, this is basically where Libre and I let our hair down, so to speak, and we talk about anything and whatever's on our minds. It could be related to Broncos football. It could be not. So if we can find a way to bring it back, we try to do so. But I decided to start this segment a little bit early because I don't want it to go that too far like we normally do because Libre has an engagement earlier in just a little bit, and I don't want him to be late.
Let's talk about it right now. Let's elevate.
And basically, which leads to this comment saying, Adon, of course, Libre is wearing a Nugget shirt. They're better than the Bulls. LOL. Now, I will say, I get that, them. Unfortunately, my Chicago Bulls, another season where they didn't make the postseason. They got knocked out by Miami. However, the Bulls did go into the offseason with a win over the Nuggets. So,
but where are they watching right now?
Oh, from the couch.
Yeah, like me and you.
Yeah, just like me and you. But the nice thing about the NBA playoffs, and it's just like the NFL playoffs in January, is just that just when you think that you know what's going to happen, the contrary does. Okay, I was talking to my friend Richard. Shout out to Richard. He's a very good friend of mine. We talk sports like almost every day at work. But I was telling him that I was surprised how in the East, Indiana has beaten the Cleveland twice already. And if Cleveland's not careful, they can get swept Okay. And New York is 1-0 over Boston. So that's a bit of a surprise itself. Now, in the East, if you ask me, I think that the Indiana, I think that they're going to beat Cleveland, maybe not sweep them, but I think that they're going to advance. And Boston, I mean, I don't see Boston losing. Maybe they kind of got, humbled, I guess you could say. But I don't think that Boston is going to lose to New York. Although Indiana making it into the Eastern Conference Finals would be a really interesting scenario, regardless of who makes it between New York and Boston. What do you think, Libre?
No, I agree. And again, it's like football terms, you say any given Sunday. But that's the beauty about the NFL, though. It's one game, and if you're done, it's one and done. It's not like it's like with the NBA and so forth, where it's a series. 10 when it's a series, it's tend to going to be like the better team's going to go out there and win it. When especially going after 4 out of you need 4 out of 7 to go in there to get to that next level. That's why, like, if you look at it, all the home teams in the second round lost the game 1 of the playoffs. So that's part of it. And it's all about, again, I say it as well, it's all about the matchups as well. Doesn't matter where you're at. Look at Minnesota and the Golden State Warriors. They're number 7 and 6 seeds going into these playoffs right now. And they're now competing to go into the West Finals right now. And that's just the beauty of the NBA itself. So it's at any given time that they can go in there. Look what the Warriors did last night. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Shot them out of the building.
Steph Curry was out in the second quarter because of hamstring. They've already ruled him out for this game 2.
For a week.
I feel like with them, they match up really well with the Minnesota. So I feel like they might end up taking the series. It may not be a sweep. They might go to game 5, game 6, which I think it will probably go game 6 or 7 with that series. And I've been calling with the Nuggets. I think we match up really well. We started off this game where this Oklahoma team is really good. But again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, is that they are also super young. So they haven't played coming into these type of playoffs itself, or learning how to actually continue to play properly. But I think this is going to go game 6. I think we'll win it in game 6.
Well, to your point about the Warriors and Minnesota, I had Minnesota taking game 1, and to be honest with you, taking the series, especially when Steph Curry got hurt. However,
absolutely.
I did not expect them to get shot out of the building, especially at their house. Like, that to me was just kind of like, come on. If you can't beat a Golden State team without their star player and you let them do that to you, it's like you don't want to lose your safety net, And to me, that was a really, really big safety net for Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
And Golden State is lucky that they only lost Steph Curry for a week, because it could have been for a whole lot longer. But then again, hamstring injuries, they don't always heal up to 100% right away, especially when you don't really take the time off necessary, and then you re-aggravate that injury and you could possibly make it worse. So it'll be interesting to see how that. I wouldn't be surprised if that series goes to a game 5 or 6. I don't think it's going to go to 7, especially if Minnesota loses game 2 again.
Oh no, I agree with you 100% on that.
Or for the Nuggets, I thought that the Thunder was going to take the first game, and they almost did. But again, to your point about them being young, you also need to learn how, when you take a lead, that you keep it. And one of the hardest things as a young team to do is to keep a lead. They can take a lead. A lot of young teams do. But keeping that is a whole different story. And when you can, in some cases, they get lucky and they actually do keep the lead and they win, just like my Bulls over your Nuggets during the regular season. And in the playoffs, it's especially more important, because if the Thunder don't play to their strengths and they don't take Denver seriously, I wouldn't be surprised if Denver goes all the way and they go into the finals to represent the West. That's just how it is right now. Right now, the Denver Nuggets look like the better team of the 4 in that one. Not to take anything away from Golden State, because the last time I did, they shot everybody out of the building and won a championship. So I think that would probably be your hardest opponent to get past if the Thunder don't wake up and get their act together. Now, again, I will say the only reason I don't have a horse in this race to say, but if I had to choose, it would probably be the Thunder, just for the simple fact that I'm a big Alex Caruso fan. I really, really hated the fact that he didn't stick with Chicago, but he's in the postseason. So, and yeah, Johnny's going to say, but he has 2 rings. Yeah, he does have 2 rings. And yeah. So I wouldn't be upset if he went and chased and got a 3rd one. Unfortunately, it'd be past Denver, but
yeah, but like what's going like with that itself is like, yeah, Caruso's there, whatever. But I heard a lot right leading up to these games is like not doing the reseeding as well, because this game technically should be the Western Conference Finals if that was going to be the case, because we're number 4, and like I mentioned earlier, Golden State is 6 and Minnesota 7. So if they went in there and did a reseed, we'd be facing the Golden State Warriors right now. And with that itself, I feel like even if we were playing the Warriors, we have their numbers. We match up really well with them. We had lost maybe 1 game out of the last 12 or something like that to the Warriors. So I feel like with that itself, it would have been taking us and getting us an easier chance of getting into the West Finals. Now we're already basically seeing the West Finals match up here now in this round, in the second round. But you know what? I feel like this Nuggets team is so much better. Like how Sean was saying earlier, with the firing of Malone, I think just helps set a fire under these guys' tails so that they go out there and actually play. I think Malone was hurting the Nuggets a lot, and that's why they said, you know what? It's 3 games left in the season. Let's just go to the other direction. Because if you think about it, say he does take you to the finals, or we do win a championship this year, how much harder would it be to say, we need to fire you, Malone, because that's what we need to do?
Yeah. Shy Vargas jumping in saying Nuggets winning games 2 and championship run, saying Nugget Libre in the house, Nuggets in 4.
Ooh, I like that. I like that championship run.
Predicting a sweep.
Yeah. Hey, let's bring those brooms out. And the best part about it, if that does happen, that's on Mother's Day. Game 4 is on Mother's Day.
Mexican Mother's Day or actual Mother's Day?
No, actual Mother's Day, yeah.
Okay. Because Mexican Mother's Day is on Saturday. So
yeah, no, it's on Sunday. The game.
That's the nice thing about being a Latina, is you get to celebrate it
twice.
By the way, Libre and I were having this conversation earlier. Corona is the beer of Broncos Talk.
No,
we're not actually sponsored, not yet. One day, but it is the number 1 choice.
Go back a couple of shows and you'll remember what I said first. I said Modelo time.
I will say Modelo is good. I will take that as a backup, but if you ask me at the bar, it's always Corona, man.
It's because it's cheaper, that's why.
The quality is better. Don't be hating, bro.
Haters gonna hate.
Now I know what to buy you when I go to the game next time. I'm like, yeah, give Libre your coldest Corona, the one that's all the way in the back of the fridge.
It's expired too. That's why.
It's expired. It tastes no good. But no, man, like it is going to be like an awesome series. And this is probably the best part of the NBA season that I like, because it is competitive basketball all the way.
Yeah.
It's not that half-assed. It's not what we saw at the beginning of the, kind of like the play-in tournament where the Bulls were, because it was kind of like a wild card versus a lower wild card, or a bigger wild card versus a even big. Like, it was a little bit too unpredictable. So it is, and see, even the boss agrees with me. Save a Rona for me, boys. Even
just
the boss has good taste. Yeah. Johnny Baki, ladies and gentlemen, the man who knows good taste in beer.
Híjole, señor.
And I didn't pay him to say that, so you can't put that on me, Libre.
I
D-Rock
saw you
saying,
texting him. That's okay.
D-Rock saying, dude, if the Knicks win it all, man, I think they would turn. I think they would
New
turn
York
it up.
would be crazy.
Yeah, unfortunately I don't see them like beating Boston. I think they kind of punt. I think this was kind of like a gut punch to the Celtics. I still think the Celtics are a better team. Now, if New York goes out there and puts on a show, and they knock out the champs, that'd be something. But then they'll have to go and contend with a team like Indiana, who's playing their hearts out. I mean, can you honestly say that the Knicks, if they were to beat the Celtics, can they be better than Indiana, who I predict is going to be in the finals over Cleveland? Or if Cleveland comes back and they knock Indiana out, I don't know if I can honestly say that the Knicks are better than the Cavaliers. I mean, the Cavaliers were the best team in the East for most of the season. That's why they won the number 1 seed. So it is, I mean, I don't know. It's anybody's game. It's anybody's guess at this point. And if you're betting on DraftKings or any of those sports books, be wise with your money, man, because just as fast as you make it is probably as fast as it can go.
Oh, absolutely. When sports betting became legal here in Colorado, and this was during COVID, of course, everyone's on the same, on that train. It's like, oh, let's start betting. So I ended up jumping on, and I was like, you know what? Let me put $50 in. So I ended up putting $50 in. I lost that $50, but then they gave you a matching bet on the site. So I went and I used that money and I put on a bet. And of course, I put on the Broncos. I won that bet. I won like $12. Then I hashed that bet and I put that $12 on the next game. And I won, what was it, $35? And then I put all of that $35 on a parlay. And this was at the time, I can't remember who the running back was, but the running back to get 65 plus yards, the receiver to get more than 80 yards or something like that, and the Broncos win. So it was a parlay itself. And that hit, all 3 of them hit, and I won $550. At that point, I stopped, I cashed out, I deleted the app, and I haven't made another bet since.
Bro, if James Cook would have ran for what was it? I think 15 or 20 more yards in the playoffs last year, man, I would have won I think it was $700 in a parlay. And I'm still so pissed off about that, bro, because they gave the second running back more time. He ran for more yards in that game against the Rams than the Bills. Was it the Rams? Oh, was it the Rams? Whoever the second team was that the Bills faced. The Ravens. Yeah, sorry, it was the Ravens. So against the Ravens, and it was just I could have won $700.
Jeez.
That still hurts, and it kills me, man.
If
I ever see James Cook, I'm gonna be like, you cost me money, man.
You should say, I'm here to collect right now.
I'm here to collect my money. Where's my money?
They call me the bone collector.
They call me the bone collector. Oh,
right.
And one other thing I want to mention before we head on out of here, and this is totally unrelated to sports, and this is from what I've seen a lot of people do lately, being cochinos. People, when you go to use the bathroom, please wash your hands.
Oh my gosh.
The amount of people I've seen at my job literally walk out of the stall and go back to their corporate meeting is disgusting. It really is. This isn't like high school where you have to go from one room to the other in 4 minutes. Unfortunately, I can't say anything to them. I just clear my throat as loud as I can as I'm washing my hands, and I just look at them. I'm like, hey, washing your hands is not optional. And they'll come back, oh, sorry. And then to make it worse, they do that half-assed one where they don't even use soap. They just rinse their hands with water.
Yeah.
It's ladies and gentlemen, please don't be cochinos. just because COVID isn't
Sucios.
a thing, a big, threat anymore, doesn't mean that you can go all willy-nilly and stuff. I do remember those people, by the way, and if I see them in the hallway, hey, 5 feet away, don't shake your hand, just wave from afar and keep it moving, player.
So yeah, there's unfortunately, I think they're just everywhere, because I'm in a corporate office as well, and same thing. I'm like, man, you just used the number 2, and you just wiped yourself, and you're not really gonna go wash your hands, and you just walk straight out. I go, that's straight out cochinos, sucios.
Yeah.
And I judge hard because I know who it is too, and I'm like, they try coming over. I go, yeah, stay away. Like, thank you. I'm kind of a mean guy, especially to that as well. It's like, that's so gross, man.
Yeah, I tell my coworkers, I'm like, hey man, don't shake that guy's hand, or don't shake that person's hand.
Yeah.
Or if you don't go anywhere in their area of work, because sometimes we have to refresh their rooms. I'm like, just either put a glove on, or just kind of grab like a piece of paper and just scoot it to the end of the table. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to head on out of here because I don't want Libre to miss not only his dinner, but his upcoming Denver Nuggets game. And there's a couple of Nuggets fans here as well that are anxious to get started. So we are going to be ending this segment just a little bit early, but we promise it will be longer than a Subway sandwich next week.
So you know what? Next week, I'm super excited for next week. Just a quick preview. What day is it? It's schedule release day. Let's go.
It is. That's correct. We are going to have the schedule release day. So Libre and I are, well, I guess you can already guess what the topic for next week is going to be. And it's going to be on a Wednesday. And we're going to be one of the very first few people that are going to be able to sit down and talk about it. So we're going to talk about it before Johnny Baki.
What?
And before those guys over at the Viva Los Broncos podcast, because those guys suck.
I don't even know who they are.
I don't even know who they are. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to head on out of here. We just want to give you a quick recap and reminder to please subscribe, share, comment, and like for us here on the Orange and Blue Network. Your support is very much appreciated for not just us here on Broncos Talk, but for all the shows here that we have on the network. Also, our sister station, MHRT Network. Please, we ask you subscribe, share, comment, and like on all of their content as well. For any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. For those of you listening to us on the audio format of today's show, we ask that you please show your support. 5-star ratings are very much appreciated wherever it is you get your podcast throughout the podcast world. If you'd like to send us a screenshot of said reviews to our socials, mine's at the bottom there. If you can't see it, it's at a 6'10" Mexican on Twitter. Bronco Libre is Bronco Libre 5280 on Twitter as well. Please make sure you give us a follow. Say hi. We're always down and happy to talk about any and all things football. Also, thanks to our sponsor, Dubby. And of course, we'd like to remind you to use the code NRWOB10 to get your 10% off on when you check out, whenever you go and get ready to buy any and all of your favorite things. Dubby. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, it is all the good stuff without all the bad. Shout out to the guys over at Nothing Rhymes With for their hookup with the 10%. And of course, for Dubby for being a continued sponsor of our show. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to head on. Oh, and of course, please remember, Viva Los Broncos will be back this Friday at our normal time, which is 7 o'clock Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, 8 o'clock Eastern.
What?
That is, if nothing else gets in the way, because I can't promise you. If Libre gets playoff tickets again, I can't guarantee you he's going to be there.
I'm not going to go buy them right now, but if I happen to win them, because our local radio station here in Denver have been raffling off tickets, and if I happen to win, I will be going to the game. If you want, I can probably go live from Ball Arena if we want to go live.
You can try either. It's either that, or I try to draw your picture on my whiteboard over there, and then it'll just be me and the whiteboard for 60 minutes. Wilson. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to head out of here. Thank you so much for your watching. Thank you so much for listening and for your support. And as we always say, please continue to support all forms of Broncos media out there, podcasts, articles. Check out Johnny Baki's over at Predominantly Orange. And, of course, my good friend Lindsay Bebo as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Good night, good day, wherever it is you're listening to us. And as we always like to say around here, go Broncos!
Let's go!